ladies and gentlemen, please, without further ado, I'm going to welcome four of my closest comrades in flight simulation. We have Magnus from Threshold, I have Jamie, also known as London Controller, I have Julius from Cruise Level, and finally I have my Irish friend, Two-Tone Murphy. Please put your hands together for my panellists.
Leute.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys very much for joining me on this very special occasion, and welcome to FS Weekend. How are you feeling?
Thank you for being invited. Feeling great. It's as packed as last year? Or is it more?
More packed, definitely.
More packed?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here.
Especially the hardware exhibition is really, really packed. A lot of people there.
Yeah.
What is the reason for that?
Wing stuff is just so popular.
Yeah, it is.
I could barely get to speak to them. It was just crowded.
It's my first FS Weekend, and to see everything, and I've watched back through the years, of course, but to be on site and to see so many people here, and we're all here for the same purpose, right? It's very exciting, and it's great. And the weather's fantastic. It's cold, but it's dry.
I mean, this is the first year I've come to Amsterdam, to Lillestad, and it's been sunny outside, and I've bought coats, jackets galore, and I'm like, oh, I don't actually need them this year.
Sure.
Well... Anyway, so before we begin, I think it's just going to be right to kind of spend a little moment just introducing yourself, a little bit about what you do, and kind of why you think you're suited for today's panel. We'll start over there with yourself, Two-Tone.
No pressure. I'm Murph, and I stream on Twitch and on YouTube, a flight sim content creator. Basically, I sit there and just try and have a good time and connect with my community. Focuses very much on general aviation, a little bit of the airliner stuff too, but for me, it was all about kind of creating our own kind of safe environment that everyone can share their hobby. And over the years, we've seen it with the different sims, the updated sims, and the popularity of flight simming. It's now huge. It was almost like, so you have any hobbies? Yeah, I'm a flight simmer. People are like, you do what? So it's now really after taking off, and it's still very much the beginning. So I have a small bit of real world experience. I was training prior to COVID, and then the simulator is, well, it's not as risky or expensive as real world flying. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, for me, it's all about the community, having this environment for folks to learn, have a good time, and just enjoy the hobby.
You say not expensive, but have you seen the prices out on some of those things? If you can afford a Scholarkey thing, then great. Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to have you on the panel today. Thank you.
All right. Hallo zusammen. My name is Julius. I've always have my entourage with me. I'm kind of a editor-in-chief with Cruise Level. We are a German-speaking news website, news blog reporting on flight simulation. And I've been simming for, I think, too many years, maybe about 30 years, and I was always really interested in the hobby. And what we do is in Cruise Level, we are kind of a collective of people. Some of them are streaming. We do a podcast, which is a German-speaking podcast, which is called Die Simulanten. And yeah, what we do from week to week is discuss flight simulation, take a looking glass to the community, what is happening, and there's so much happening that it's sometimes really, really hard to catch up. And and then a weekend like this, of course, is perfect because you can connect and you can refresh yourself, or you can fresh up very, very fast. And yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Thank you again for joining us. And yesterday we co-hosted, a few of us, at the Flight Sim Awards yesterday. So if you haven't already seen that, please do check it out, because we celebrated some of the best in flight simulation, didn't we? Awesome. Thank you very much. Jamie.
I'm Jamie, London Controller on Twitch. I've been streaming now for about 6 years, or just under 6 years. I mainly focus on the airline stuff, probably best known for loud music and lots of party vibes. So, yeah, I also do controlling alongside as the flying as well. So I'll fly from A to B, or fly a rotation, and then maybe do some controlling. And yeah, I've just been doing that I've been flight simming for about 11, 12 years now. And I think I'm definitely suited for this panel to be able to talk about the trends and what the future holds for flight sim.
Well, you say 11, 12 years, but you don't look old enough. You look like you're 11 or 12.
I'm taking that as a compliment. If I do get ID'd now, I'm well happy about it. So, yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamie, for joining us.
Pleasure.
And last but by no means least, Magnus.
Yeah, I'm Magnus Lorvik. I'm from Norway, and I'm the CEO and owner of Threshold. We have an editorial, news articles, and web shop, and we have a forum. And we've started out because we didn't like FSElite, so we thought they needed some competition, and we gave you some.
Yeah, you did.
But we're good friends. Little did I know back in 2017 that my beginner's guide for X-Plane back then would evolve into me moderating some obscure X-Plane Facebook group. And from that, we decided to create Threshold. And 7 years later, I'm here on stage. It's pretty insane.
It is. And I think it's insane for anyone who kind of sits on this panel to think this little hobby we were doing is like when we were younger and stuff has now turned into such an amazing opportunity for all of us to be able to make full-time jobs out of it or find different kind of ways to still and do it, but then provide back to the community as well, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
Definitely.
Excellent. Well, these are our panelists. As you can tell, they've definitely got a lot of knowledge and experience behind them. So now we're going to talk about some questions, and what we're going to try and do is have a conversation and then also open it up to you guys as well if you have any questions for any of our panelists today. So really my first question and kind of what led me to think of this topic in the first place, thinking back to 2024, I think we had a very exciting year of different simulators being released. We had massive updates to pre-existing simulators, and the add-ons that were created and released as well were some of the most realistic and in-depth that we've seen. Thinking overall, and I'll start with yourself, Julius, what do you think the current state of flight simulation is? Are you excited by it? Are you nervous? Are there things that you think worry you or, maybe really, really you're looking forward to in the future?
Well, I think I have never dreamed of that the situation will be like this, like we have it now in 2025. And I would say it's almost overwhelming because I'm a flight sim nerd and I want to try out everything. But how do you do that when you just have 7 days a week and 24 hours a day? I want to fly an X-Plane. I want to try the TOLIS. I want to check out the new releases for MS 2024. But there is still stuff going on in 2020. And then there is DCS with modules. So I think this is really great. And I think it shows how the community and how flight simulation kind of has developed in the last 20 years. And to answer the question about the future, I think there's one guy from Microsoft, I think he's called Jörg, or sometimes he always says the sky is the limit, and I think we are beyond that. I think maybe Mars is the limit now, or the sun is the limit, I don't know. So I think we are looking at a bright future. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah, definitely.
I was going to say exactly the same, really. I mean, I must admit, I was a little bit nervous when the 2024 release happened and it wasn't quite as smooth as everyone had anticipated it to be. But, it's come on leaps and bounds in the last few months. And, I mean, we've had the Build A350 release, which is just a phenomenal aircraft. You can't really get much better than that. The Phoenix is just getting better with update after update. I must admit, I don't do too much X-Plane, so I don't really know that side in DCS, but
you should.
Yeah, I know. Should do. But yeah, 2024 is in a really good place, and I think it can just only get better now.
I don't know who coined the saying, but they had said that we're living in the golden age of flight simulation, right? I mean, we've seen this now with the changes that Microsoft have brought to the table with 2020 and 24. X-Plane, of course, going from 11 onto 12, DCS, but there's also more now coming into the fray as well. And that's so expansive because you get into your hardware, you get into the software add-ons, and as you mentioned, I mean, you see the floor out there. Some of the hardware stuff is like, this was like prohibitive back in the day. You wouldn't have the price of force feedback or some of the most realistic looking equipment. It'd be like 20,000, 30,000, maybe. You might be lucky. Now it's very accessible. So I think it is like we're still very much in this golden age of our hobby, which is flight sim.
Yeah, hardware is coming down in pricing, and force feedback is coming down in pricing. WinWing is here and showcasing excellent products. Moza, another Chinese company, coming in and delivering really good products as well. I think, in a sense, the fact that we had the Flight Sim Awards this year, we couldn't have had it prior. I think we're now in kind of a shift towards becoming a larger, more more tight-knit community, which has a really bright future, in my opinion. Definitely. So I completely agree with everyone here.
Absolutely.
I think the tight-knit community is just so important as well for flight sim. It's niche, but you say tight-knit, but I also think with the release of 2020 and 2024, it's opened up the sim to so many more people.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's, become so mainstream now. You don't have to do airlines. You don't have to do just GA. You don't have to do... You've got these activities. You've got these missions that you can do, which could be slightly better in some areas. But yeah, it's definitely become more mainstream. And the hardware as well. We were literally just saying as well, the hardware, the quality is just incredible now for a price that is so affordable to so many people. So, yeah, it's great to see.
Yeah, and I think what has been quite interesting walking around myself as well, there's a lot of VR headsets. VR has been around for quite a while now, but I think the accessibility of it is much more better. And you mentioned as well, Jamie, about 2020, 2024 kind of opening the floodgates a little bit more to people who may not have experienced flight simulation before through using Xbox Game Pass or using it through an Xbox, just because that's so much more affordable than a big PC, which we've probably all got. But the point being, I think flight simulation as a hobby is growing, which is only a good thing. Do you find, especially as content creators, though, that we are seeing a lot more critique for products, or we're seeing a lot more vocal people online, especially in kind of like your communities on chats and stuff like that? And maybe, Murph, we can start with you.
I think we are, and like it's kind of the trend. It's the direction of where our entire community is going. We're more aware. We're more. We've been exposed to the new technology, the next gen graphics. We've the hardware. So we're a lot quicker, I suppose, to kind of see, well, here's an add-on and it's very opportunistic and there's a price tag on it and it's not great. Where before, people just wouldn't buy it. Let's leave it. Now it's like, well, what is this? This isn't acceptable. Like there's a barrier that we would expect for maybe a price point or even just out of quality. And that's a good thing, because the successful developers, well, they'll continue on being successful. And the guys who are just out there in a quick buck, they're highlighted now. There's now risk, there's consequence to what they're doing, which is important. And that goes across software and hardware, But I think it's the community in general. It is growing very, very fast. It's never been as accessible. And it's not just the major players in there. I mean, there are other flight sim platforms that are also seeing this massive expansion of growth. Probably all kickstarted with what Microsoft did with 2020, because that was like, whoa, look at this thing. Like, I remember X-Plane 11.5 and I was like, this thing looks so good. It is the most realistic. A week later after 2020, it's like, what is this thing?
Fly that again.
Do you know what I mean? And it's amazing what kind of graphics can do to a sim, but people are finding their happiness, I suppose, but like they're finding what they like to do on any platform, which is great for it. And because of that, they're more aware of it now. And they're going to tell you all about it.
I think the key word here is accessibility.
Yeah.
Before Flight Sim 2020, I had orthos, but I had to search that or to figure out that it even exists. And then I sit there on my crappy internet line and using 2 days to download Norway, or a week for that matter.
How many hard drives? Table full of them.
I've been blessed in that area. But yeah, so back then I had the experience of, I've been fortunate to have that experience prior to 2020. I could fly over my house. It was a box, but still, it was my house. I could find my workplace, stuff like that. And I've been in development as well with Xenviro, for instance. We were the first ones to, in a larger scale, introducing 3D clouds. So I was literally there experiencing something that everyone is experiencing now, but I did it alone. And I was like, oh, this is the future. And, but it's all so accessible now, and everyone can afford to get into it. You just need a Game Pass and you're there.
I want to add on the accessibility point as well. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but GeoFS is a completely mobile flight simulator that runs, I think, just in a web browser. And then you've also got things like Infinite Flight as well on mobile. Can anyone speak to maybe using that or experiencing it, or how you think, though? Because I think sometimes simmers look at those sims and go, well, that's not real, that's not an actual flight sim. But what's your opinion on how they can complement each other and still be very much a part of this community as well?
I definitely think that they're just as important. I personally haven't used them, to be totally honest, but I think it's something that is so accessible to so many people, and I think that you enjoy that. Yeah, you can't probably do an A to B flight realistically and have a study level aircraft, but it drags people into that side of flight sim and makes them want to move into trying the Phoenix or trying the A50 or trying one of the GA planes in a flight sim that is so realistic. It's just unbelievable now, the size of a flight sim, and you can boot it up, fly over your house, fly anywhere in the world, and you can have that installed in 10, 15 minutes. It's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, it's like folks like on the combat side, I mean, they would look at War Thunder, and then you have DCS. So I think there's many ways to attract folks. I mean, if you're interested in aviation, you're going to start figuring out what's what, right? And what your experience wants to be. And that's kind of the same going back to, like, folks want to choose what experience they want to have these days. Like, it's not a case of here's the product and go take it and that's it. We can choose now. Well, I want that sort of an experience. Like even today for X-Plane, like where X-Plane is at, visually. But if you really want to give yourself a great, in my opinion, a great experience in X-Plane, well, do a nighttime flight. And it's not because you can't see the graphics, but their night lighting is excellent. And, you pop that into an airliner or GA, it's an incredible experience. Yet, you'll jump back into 2020 because there's certain add-ons in 2020 that give you that experience that you want. And it's the same on 24. So I remember someone saying it was, the Hotstar Challenger, which was like one of the most head-scratching add-ons in a flight sim. I mean, this thing had features on top of features. And that kept folks using that platform. It was the same at P3D, right? I mean, the 747 was there. There was other aircraft there. So, yeah, I think we've a lot of options with the mainline simulators, but also all the other ones as well. There's room for everyone, like.
It's cool that you can fly a plane on a plane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember back in the days. Now, Grandpa is telling stories from yesteryear. But back in the days, 20 years ago, we just had to use what is there on the add-on market. So we didn't have the chance to be picky. And today you can have this accessibility, what you just mentioned, that you can say, okay, I'm really into general aviation. So yeah, pick your sim, pick your add-on. I'm really into airliners. Okay, pick your sim and your add-on, and stuff like this is what makes this hobby so nice today. And I think what also brings so many people, apart from this big release from Microsoft, brings so many people to the simulator today, I think, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I just want to touch on add-ons and stuff in general, because we've spoken a lot about the simulators and the platforms and how they've brought in new markets. Speaking of those new markets, though, how do you feel third-party developers are currently faring? I mean, we've seen declines, developers have told us about public declines of sales. They're struggling to keep up with the consistently changing SDKs. I don't know if anyone can or have maybe spoken to developers in the past. I mean, yourself, you've dabbled in that kind of stuff as well. Maybe you can speak to some of that.
Yeah, somewhat. My first thought is anyone developing for P3D anymore?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I've never been like the main. I had P3D in the past, but I went over to X-Plane just because there was much more freeware there. I could expand my simulator, and yeah, Threshold also started to write about only X-Plane in the beginning, for that matter. But like Microsoft Flight Simulator has dominated a lot, and it's kind of put X-Plane also a bit in the shadow, I feel, these days. I find it sad that Laminar Research isn't here this year. I really hope they come back because I love those guys. I love their sim and I love a lot of what they do. But yeah, I'm a bit worried about some of the platforms. Well, where it might be a strong. X-Plane will manage. I don't think any of the sims will die as such. Like P3D is Lockheed Martin, for Christ's sake. But still, I don't know. Is there some? Do you have some thoughts on the domination in the market on this?
Well, I think what I observed in the last, let's say, 5 years. I think when there was the year 2020 when we were sitting at home and had a lot of free time, and the Microsoft Flight Simulator came. There were a lot of people coming to the. coming to flight simulation, and the market was really huge all of a sudden. And what I see now, or what I observe, is there are kind of two ways of approaching an add-on in the perspective of an add-on creator. First, you go the real full commercial way, so you put in all the publicity, all the PR, or you really concentrate silently on the product. And this is the interesting thing, to categorize for yourself, okay, where can I put the add-on? And this is what makes you really aware of quality and all the things connected to that. So, I mean, there are sometimes really small studios which really surprise you with really good add-ons, because they were just focused. They are just maybe one or two guys developing in the back end, and they just put it out, and it's good quality. I mean, it's, for example, A2A simulations, Scott Gentile. He's really quiet all the time. There's not much going on, but then he's putting out something like the Comanche, and you're blown away by the things you can do with this add-on. And I think that's really interesting in the market today, yeah.
I think there's a lot of pressure as well on, scenery developers and aircraft developers. I think the level of expectation from the community has definitely shot up in the last, let's say 5 years, and the quality of products that have been released are just fantastic. I mean, I think there's products, you think of the Phoenix, and it's almost like if you don't get to that level, people are like, oh, it falls short in a level of expectation, right? But yes, as you say, it can be a tiny group of developers and they can make this incredible product. And yeah, it's quite phenomenal. It really is.
Yeah, the challenge for scenery is there. Like, was it like 2 weeks ago we had 3 releases of the same airport in Greenland?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, hey, wow. And that's kind of strange, because sceneries, they are the most popular add-on, at least, especially when the sim starts off, right? Because we're waiting on the aircraft to get developed. So it turns into an airport simulator. And we're looking to see, okay, what are scenery developers doing to enhance this product to make it better than, well, it's just a scenery. We're used to just sceneries. Well, no, we got interiors, and we have, you can walk up the escalator, you can do all these things now. And the price is starting to come up. I've noticed a lot of scenery prices are starting to come up. And I'm questioning, well, why is the price going up? But the features, there's a trend going on there for sure. For the aircraft guys developing aircraft, that's got to be a massive challenge, because yes, you could go the loud PR route, and that's a way of almost defending themselves to make sure no one else is going to work on this project because we're doing it. Or you have the guys who keep quiet and really hone in the skills. The third part of all of this is, as a simmer, what do we want, right? Do we want interiors in airports? Are we going to spend our time in, hey, look, the hands on the clock move inside the duty-free shop? Is that what we want? Maybe it is. When it comes to aircraft, you don't have enough arms or legs. It's like, okay, well, push this button, press this one over here, and with your head, move the mixture. There's a balance between, you're following the aircraft purely by realism, or you're making it more accessible to the simulator. And I think that's got to be a huge challenge, because we want more realism. Like, the community exploded from 2020. So many new people came in, probably for the first time. They're now very familiar with the simulator. They want to learn more, and hence there's almost like a demand to, well, I want realism, because, yeah, I've done all this before. I know how to start the plane. I want to do, the nav stuff, or I want to do the ATC stuff. So that's kind of where it's getting to. I just think there's a huge challenge for developers to strike that balance.
Yeah. I just want to pick up on, you mentioned about there are 3 Nooks that came out. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know.
I say Nook.
That came out the other week. But then, we look at the aircraft as well, and there's obviously the Airbus fleet of the narrow bodies. We've got at least 6 or 7 variations of an A320. Is that okay to have in our market? Do you think, our market is kind of big enough to support that? And do you think that they're different enough in order to cater to different audiences? I mean, just start with yourself on kind of that topic.
Oh, that's a very hard question, especially with the narrow-body Airbuses, because, I mean, when you just mentioned that, I just tried to count them in my head. I think, are you talking about, I mean, cross-platform? Yeah, we have Tolis, we have Phoenix, we have Inibuilds, we have the fly-by-wire, we have so many Airbuses. Yeah, I don't know. I think I talked to some developers, and they told me, I think sometimes you have to do the airplane, which is the most famous one out there in the world. And I think maybe the 737 and the A320 is the one to go. And this is why there are so many versions. But I don't know what the solution to that is. I think I'm always looking for the whole package, the whole thing. And every add-on has its little thing which makes it stand out, you know. And so this might be the reason why there are a lot of people who look for these little things which stand out and then make their choice and then make their pick. But I don't know, yeah.
I think the competition is so important as well. Like, I know we've got 6, 7 A320s, but I do feel like the competition strive or the competition makes the other companies become better and makes them want to put even more effort. You know, we live in a world where you do want to be better, you do want to beat your competitor. So I think you see what Phoenix have done with the A320, you've seen what Inibuilds have done with the A350. You know, there might be a developer out there that's thinking, I want to better that. I've seen the features that come with that and I want to make mine better. I mean, I don't envy them. I wouldn't want to be one.
I think it's very interesting that we have such now a diverse range of experience levels within our hobby. Those who are completely brand new, they just wanted to fly around their house and see it for the first time, and then maybe kind of get that like hook and that excitement of like, well, I kind of want to try bigger and better things. Jamie, I want to come to you, especially because you, like you say, you do online controlling through VATSIM. Have you found that people are patient with newcomers who, for the first time, they've come onto VATSIM? Because I remember my first time, and I had flown in a sim for years, and it's still nerve-wracking. So I can't imagine what it's like, and I want to make sure that those who are new to this hobby don't feel overwhelmed or pressurized or stressed, and that actually us as an experienced group of people can support them. Do you feel like you get that on the network?
Yeah, I think there's a level of patience between controllers and, you know, other pilots on the network as well, and we want to help each other out. I think, especially with VATSIM, there are people that probably log on when they do need to do a little bit more work. They need to do a bit more reading up and not fly into Heathrow on their first flight. But no, I do think there is a level of patience, and anyone that gets into the hobby, there are places on the network that you can absolutely go, and it doesn't have to be at 100 million miles an hour. They can take things slowly, and they are able to explain that process. And I do think that's what makes VATSIM a great place to be on.
Yeah, I'm one of those who have stage fright.
Says you on the stage right now.
No, so for me, it's always been kind of a big hurdle getting over into actually contacting VATSIM. I've done it. I've done a couple of flights, but it's always like I have to mentally prepare for it. And in that sense, I would say the new products like, say, Intentions and these others really help for me to fill that gap where I'm actually talking and doing the routines and prepare for something like VATSIM down the line.
Yeah, I think what's key to the success of anyone wanting to start off with online flying, it's something that we figured out a long time ago. And what I mean by that is we got a lot of people interested. It was providing an environment that if you know, hello, tower, it's me. Listen, I want to do something. You know, there was a reaction. Okay, well, this is how you're going to do it. You know what I mean? You're creating that safe environment. And like what Say Intentions have, that's their engine. I mean, there's 3 different modes with that program to say, well, what's your ATC experience like? I mean, are you a pure beginner to say, I'm in my plane, I want to go that way, please? Yeah, okay. They'll respond to that. Or, you know, are you the intermediate or are you at the professional end? And it'll adjust itself based on what you're saying. So if you get a call wrong, it's not going to do what you want it to do. With VATSIM and online flying, I always find it's amazing because in real world, you start off with, you know, your small general aviation aircraft. It's visual flight rules, and that's how you start. On VATSIM, straight into the 747 and going straight from, you know, Heathrow to JFK. Really? You know, but that's what we do. And that can, for a lot of people, shake them off. Hey, I can't deal with this. It's this guy's giving out to me or this guy's shouting to me. And then you have controllers who, like, when you look at the amount of controllers and like the popularity, I'd say even on VATSIM has exploded as well. There's so many people flying there now. You have a controller dealing with so much. And how does the controller have to cater with, well, okay, look, these guys know what they're doing. These guys, they're okay, but these guys haven't a clue. And how do you balance that? That's like proper stress, I'd say. You know,
the balance is tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But like it's all about the environment for it. I mean, and again, it's choosing, well, how do you want your experience to be? You know, do you want to, I remember the first time I did online ATC and it was with This is back in the day on Pilot Edge, and I sat there, for like a good 10 minutes. I'll push the button, and hello, and then you give your whole thing, and it's grand after that. But you got to start somewhere, and people do have. I mean, it's a natural thing. It's like, it's simple. Push the button, start talking, but then like, what do I say? Have I said it wrong? You know what I mean? So. No, it's
you were saying about the ATC side of things. You've done something quite recently. I think it was probably with over in the last year. You were sort of doing the ATC to help people along, and I was watching it. And I was like, it's brilliant.
So we did. It was a script. Like, what do you say? How do you say it? When do you say it? And probably more importantly, when are you not to say this? And it was just done as a script because, yes, you can learn the requirements, the SIDs, the stars. You can learn, read the charts. They'll give you the information. But how exactly or what exactly do you say and how do you say it? So that's what we did. I mean, the guys from VADAIR helped us out. It was using the Irish airspace, and it was a script. So it was like, this is your call sign, this is your aircraft, this is your information, this is where you are, this is what it is you want to do. And it was just line by line with a script. And you can make that applicable to anything. And then we did IFR stuff, which is hilarious. And now we're starting on the FAA stuff, which is going to be even more hilarious. Because like VFR flying in the States, there's no script. It's in Europe, there's a bit of a script. There's a routine. It's like, can I start up? Can I do this? In the States, just have at it.
Yeah.
But again, there's loads of resources, like everything, right? There's loads of resources out there. It's just hard to get them into one kind of condensed area, right? But they're in one little area. You can have a look, but they're all online and they're free as well.
I think practice makes perfect with it as well. Like nobody's expecting you to go on and know everything and get every call right. I mean, I've been on VATSIM for 10, 11 years and I still make mistakes, Nobody's expecting you to go on there and be perfect, and you will come across a lot of people that are patient and potentially one or two that aren't so patient, but just ignore them.
Yeah, and it's gas. Like if you haven't done online flying yet, using something like VATSIM or even just experiencing ATC, it's a game changer to what it is and what you do flying. It's a very different experience, and it could be the case that you just want to fly because you're looking at the scenery, or there's a particular aircraft you want to fly. But when you have that extra level of something to do, communication, be it you speaking or it's typed in or whatever, it's a very different experience for your hobby.
Amazing. I mean, this leads me into kind of the final question before we take any questions from the audience. So you've already mentioned about you putting together this resource to help people with online flying, but I was curious about the other three. What are you doing at the moment to help support the community, either through your content creation or kind of, putting together resources like this? And we'll kind of go down the line here, if that's okay.
Well, at our part, I think it's with a community we just created over the last 5 years. I would say a community which talks to each other on Discord mainly, with voice or with chat. And I think this is also a thing I observe in other areas on other platforms, that the community is something which is really good for helping each other to get into the hobby. The major thing is just ask your question. If you have a problem or if you have something which you're not sure about, ask somebody. He will help you and get you access and help you to make your way through. And this is how we did it, or how I did it 30 years ago. Grandpa's again telling stories from yesteryear, but that's the way it goes. And the people are nice out there, because I mean, we had it in some earlier question. There's a lot of discussion going on. There is X-Plane versus MSFS and all these discussions, but come on, in the end, people help each other out. And this is what I observe in our community and other communities as well. Yeah.
I think I would love to do more to help people out. I know so many people have always asked me to do a How to VATSIM series. There's a few on YouTube, but they get old quickly and the procedures change and you need to keep up to date. I mean, I'm rubbish at video editing, so I'd be useless. But I think I definitely help people in the sense of that when you come into my stream, I leave it very open for people to ask questions, and any question they do have, whether that be with flying, whether it be with controlling. And I do feel like I have a good level of experience and a good level of knowledge to be able to guide people and help people, whether that be through my Twitch chat or whether it be through while I'm controlling. I sometimes do some quieter streaming sessions on controlling. I remember I've done Luton Ground quite recently, and I've done a few Heathrow grounds, and I sort of open it up and say, look, I'm not going to be busy. I'm not going to be controlling 20, 25 aircrafts. It's not going to be crazy. Come and fly along. Come and get used to it. Come and learn. And yeah, I know people have done, and now I see people thrive and join crazy group flights into all sorts of airports. So yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think for like you are content, like when people say I'm a content creator, I'm not really a content creator. I'm a builder. So I built a platform like you have as well, where we let people help people. And so, yeah, that's basically what we do. Now we started a YouTube series where we just do cold and dark startups, just because some people don't want to read. They just want to have a YouTube video. All right, we'll provide that and see how that goes if that becomes popular. But yeah, it's a bit different for us. While you are interacting directly with people in a session, we kind of build the platform where people interact between each other. So that's kind of my mission in this, I guess.
Yeah. And I think if I were just to kind of make an ask of the community as a whole is just be kind, be nice. Just remember that at one point you were brand new to flight simulation. You didn't know what a SID was. You thought a star was something you saw up in the sky at night. You had no idea what any of the stuff that we talk about, and I think sometimes us as simmers take it for granted. So when you do see kind of those comments that aren't sure, may seem like a bit of a silly question or an answer, then just point them in the right direction. There's tons of resources, and just overall be kind, be nice, because the more that we have people engaged and interacting with this hobby, the more add-ons we're going to get, the bigger the content creation community will be, and the more all these platforms, Microsoft, Laminar Research, Lockheed Martin, DCS, etc., will continue to generate even better sims for us as well.
Yeah, that's a big one. Be kind.
Be kind. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much to my 4 panelists. Now, I just wondered if there's any questions from the audience in the last few minutes before we wrap up here. Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. So just for our audience at home, the question was, what is our purpose of flying, and what products would we like to see kind of in the future? And we'll just kind of do quick responses going down the line.
I think the biggest challenge is why fly? Why sit down at your sim? And yes, you want to have an experience. You might want to replicate a real world flight. You might be doing a group flight. We're seeing things now like, the career mode in the sim. It's a game. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like a gaming thing to bring into aviation, but people are abusing it. And it's the same at missions. And I think it's going to be more along the lines of giving more reasons to fly. Like, why boot up the sim? Why do you actually want to do this? Here's your reason.
Okay, I give a quick answer. For me, I really like to use the simulator as a virtual museum. So I really would like to have more vintage airliners and more vintage aircraft from the 70s, 80s, 60s. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see some vintage stuff as well. I'm very much into my modern aircrafts as well. Probably the purpose for flying for me is I do like to replicate real world flights from A to B, and probably one of the main things of why, or not so much why I do my streams, but it's to have busy group flights, to fly into busy airports and that sort of hustle and bustle. And so, yeah, I'd say that's definitely my purpose of flying while I'm streaming.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting what I want at this time, like hardware getting down in pricing, where I can have my navigation systems and do proper flights when I want to. I mainly fly GA because I can't just sit there and watch buttons. And I'm a GA flyer.
Look at Sky for 3 hours on end.
Yeah. But so for me, it's kind of two things. It's I either fly properly or I just fly for beeps and giggles. But yeah, but the hardware coming down in pricing is for me like I'm seeing what I want now.
Amazing. For myself personally, so I work in the aviation industry, and in our flight sims, they're very everything goes right all the time, unless there's a crash to desktop. But typically, your A to B flight is fine. What I like to see is those kind of virtual medical emergencies, or your waters. Like even my flight here yesterday, we had to wait on the ground at Heathrow because our water wasn't ready for the airplane. So I don't know, just something like to make my day that little bit different, a little bit more random would be kind of cool to see in the add-ons as well. So we have time for one more question. I don't know if anyone has anything at all to ask. Can't see anyone. Oh, yeah. Sure. So for our audience back at home, the question was, say Intentions made quite a big splash with their entry. Do we think AI will make a big difference on things like scenery in the flight sim space? I'm start Magnus and work that way.
I'm not sure. Probably. Especially for ATC, it has made a big difference, obviously. Making AI, I'm not really sure. To be honest, I'm going to let you answer. Maybe I have something later.
I mean, AI is incredible. I mean, Chat GPT is incredible. So, yeah, in terms of scenery development, I'll be very surprised. I think it's hard to replicate the level of quality that these developers go into. And you say with the clocks that move in the airports, I think it's hard to replicate that AI-wise. And even the ATC, I mean, say Intentions beyond ATC are absolutely incredible. But I don't think you can replace that touch of actually speaking to a controller and
maybe a co-pilot.
Something like that for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Well,
software in general.
Well, I think that AI will play a huge role in the future because it will give the developers the chance to take certain shortcuts in producing stuff. And also it has the great opportunity to individualize situations and make just the thing you mentioned, with the water's not filled up in the aircraft or something like that. And I think that is what AI can do in a moment like this. And so I think AI will change the world of flight simulation too in the next 10 years. That's my expectation, at least.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen so far, with say Intentions, I mean, you have the ATC, you have the missions. You guys hear the Sky Ops. You can just call up the ground frequency. Hey, I'm ready for a mission. It'll inject its own objects and scenery into your sim, and then off you go and do it. This is only the beginning with AI. Like, when you think about the application of what can be done, it can be used on the software development to help them out, be it scenery or aircraft, to streamline things, but also giving ideas. It's like there's literally no end to the possibilities what can be accomplished with something like AI. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it. It's for the industry that we're in flight simulation. It's always kind of at the leading edge, right? When it comes to tech, I think AI is going to play a huge role in that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for your question. I'm sorry we don't have any more time to take any more questions, but if you do see any of us around the show floor, please do feel free to stop us, or definitely find us online as well. We'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you. But ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for my wonderful panelists, and I hope you enjoyed today's conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you.